Hello, everybody. I'm Jeremy, owner-operator of Green 13 for 15 years. Third generation auctioneer and dealer of antiques and collectibles for over 30 years.
We are Lysandra and Tony from ilovediscounts_com. With 20 years of experience across brick and mortar, Amazon, eBay, and whatnot, we have built, broken, and rebuilt resale businesses, so you don't have to.
Hi, I'm Tracy, a CPA with over 30 years of audit and tax experience and have worked with businesses in various industries. I am also a seller on Whatnot, eBay, and Etsy.
Welcome to Reselling Roundtable.
Welcome to the Reselling Roundtable.
Welcome in, everybody. Do you ever wonder why two sellers can have the exact same inventory, run it in their shows, and one seems to make thousands of dollars while another seller struggles to get bids? While there can be a lot of different factors in that, one of the main ones is your selling style or that seller's selling style. Tonight, we're going to dive into something every seller thinks they've figured out, but most haven't. Are you a calm, curated, boutique type of person, or a dollar start, rapid fire chaos machine? Or somewhere in between, just trying to survive the algorithm in your ever-growing death pile? Some sellers swear by curated and controlled, and I can understand why. They really like that margin. And then while others are out there running dollar starts like it's a full contact sport. Some build community first, while some chase speed and others chase margins. And the real question is, what actually works and what just looks like it works? We're going to break it down tonight, what we've seen, what we've tried, what's worked and what hasn't, and probably challenge each other a little bit along the way, because that's always my favorite part. There is no right way to sell, but there is a right way for you to sell. And at the end of the day, your style isn't just how you sell, it's what your buyers come back for because they like the style that you sell in. So whether you're here to level up, switch it up, or finally figure out why your shows aren't converting, we're going to get into it. And I had a question to start us off. What's a selling style you see all the time on Whatnot and you think is overrated, and why?
Starting off with the questions like that.
Yeah.
Repeat the question quick.
What's a selling style you see all the time on Whatnot and you think is overrated?
Overrated? That's hard because I don't watch enough. I'm going to see if you have.
I have.
Perfect.
I got one.
I have an answer, and it's probably not I don't want to offend anybody, but
We're not saying any names.
We're not saying names. But a style that I think is overrated is the live shopping styles. I think it's very overrated. The flea market, the antique stores, the regular department stores, but the live shopping I think is one that's overrated.
Oh, I think those are fun.
Do you?
Yeah.
Can you elaborate? Like, what is it about it that you think is overrated? Like, what attributes of it do you think are overrated?
I don't think there's any creativity in it. Like I feel like it's an easy way. It's an easy out. I understand the appeal of just-in-time inventory. So I understand the appeal of low, you're not holding inventory. Financially, It makes some sense. I can't argue with those points. But I think it's just, it's an easy way out. You're not putting in the effort. You're not curating anything. You're not, where is the part of you that's coming through in that? It's just, anybody can go to an antique mall. I don't know. It's not my thing. I know people have made successful businesses and that's good for them. It's not for me.
Here's my perspective on that. I think it caps. Well, I know it caps.
What's going to cap?
It caps very quickly. However, there's some other things I'm going to want to talk about later as far as styles go. And I think one attribute to doing that is if you have an area where you're capable of doing it. First of all, that's another problem. Like not everyone's in areas where you can even accomplish that if you wanted to.
100%.
Because people's attention span being that of a gnat makes it hard to go to the same 4 antique stores in your area over and over again, or your 2 flea markets that you can go to. But I think as far as a short-term foundational principle, if you can segue into something else, I don't think it's a bad way to kind of maybe get your foot in the door, because you do have a lot of personal interaction with your customers when you're doing it. But I understand where you're coming from, Tracy, as far as like after that, it just seems like you're running on a treadmill and you cease to put effort into it. And if you don't understand that it's going to cap like that, you're just going to be on that wheel running and probably actually going backwards. To be honest with you, and that again, that's my opinion.
I see it a little different. I still see the cap of it. But I would look at it from a grander perspective, and maybe I'm taking that show on the road and I'm traveling, not just local flea markets and yard sales, but maybe, because Lysandra and I have talked about this when sourcing for
We did one.
eBay. Yeah. Well, no. We did a show like that, but Lysandra and I talked about this as being a model for our business and allowing us to travel at the same time. And Whatnot would be a really good place for us to travel, do those live shopping experiences wherever we are going, not hold and carry inventory with us, but just ship it out on the road. So while I'm not disputing, I agree and understand with what Tracy is saying. I think there's a business model there that's not terribly annoying. I personally like to watch them because you're going to get something different.
I get bored real quick in those.
I get bored. I can't watch them.
It's like a different twist on a scan show, which I'm sure we're going to talk about.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
I actually, go ahead.
One thing I think sellers that do those shows, though, where they really miss the mark, is they don't test the Wi-Fi before going live.
100%.
The amount of live shopping shows I've seen where the Wi-Fi is spotty and it's glitchy, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's bad.
Do a private show first and test that.
It's bad, yeah.
You're talking about me, Lysandra?
I have I don't know, and I'm sure this is just me. This is my own personal opinion. I even went as far as looking at if this was illegal, because I'm like, you're selling stuff before you even own it. It's not illegal, by the way. But so totally legal if you have every intent of buying it. That's not an issue. But the ones I've seen, maybe not so much in a department store, but the ones I've seen that are like at thrift stores, antique malls, garage sales, like flea market type ones, I have this thing where it's like, you hear how much they're buying it for, and then the upcharge, which is totally cool. We're resellers. We upcharge everything. We're supposed to make a profit. But hearing it as a viewer and a buyer leaves such a bad taste in my mouth that I'm like, I don't want to hear that. And then I think about the perception on the other side. If I were the antique store booth owner or the guy at the flea market selling it to you, and then hear you flipping it and like I tell you it's $5, then I hear you say, oh, I'm going to sell this for $45. Like, right. I think it just leaves such a bad impression in so many different ways that it's just not for me. And again, I'm not against making a profit. I'm not against a markup. It's the public knowledge of it. I just think there's things in business that don't need to be everybody's knowledge. Yeah, it doesn't need to be out there.
And I know in our live shopping show, we did not tell the prices. We didn't show them.
We did not. We figured out what the margin needed to be over the retail, because we didn't go to try to negotiate a better price for. We were at a grocery store.
I think there's a lot of landmines, to say the least, with
there.
There is. I am probably at some point in time, because that's what my $10,000 gold giveaway show was. That was a live shopping show that the 40 people that got in joined me. I went to the market and I went around and I sold stuff. But that's different because I know my crowd. I knew what they would be willing to spend, and there was no negotiating. The person I was talking to, they told me the price, and I started at $1, almost all of it.
Wow.
So I
See,
didn't
now I
have
think
to.
that's different because it doesn't matter
Yeah,
what you
yeah,
paid. You
that's what I'm
started
saying.
at
Like that's an
$1.
exception
Yeah.
to the rule, but most people aren't willing to take that
No.
jump. And if I were to do it again, that would be my twist on it. It'd be like, come losses or profits, you're not going to know what I'm paying for it. You're going to know I'm starting it at $1,
And that
would
was
be
my
it.
next question: is did the customers know what it was being sold to you for?
No. No,
Okay.
there was a couple instances though where there was other fellow whatnotters there that I went to, and we had shared customers, and they
Yeah.
liked them. So as a hey, I'm going to help this person out. They knew what I paid, what the cost was. In those instances, yes, and those I was doing it more as a favor. So I was actually that was a different scenario. That was me selling it at breaky like hey, we're going to start it at this, and if it sells for this, I'm covering fees, I'm not making a dime, and everyone could see that. That was just an appreciation because and opportunity, it's just one of those community building moments that
Yep.
presented itself. So but no, when I sold it, they didn't know what I was paying for it. I'm sure sometimes they heard in the background, like, hey, I need I'm pretty certain when I sold some Omega pocket watches, and he had a pile of watches out, and he said like it's X amount per watch. They heard that and they're like, run this one, run that one. Like,
Right.
okay, fine. And I didn't stipulate a price. They knew what I paid, and did I make a ton off of them? No, I made enough of money to make it worth, the time, but that's not what that show was about anyway. But they knew, like the watch was 300 and it would sell for like 500 or so. It wouldn't double. 400, 400, 450, something like that, after fees and all the time, me traveling around, it doesn't, you don't really make as much money, and I have employees there helping me and I'm paying them, per hour and stuff. So, and everybody understood all that, but I'm going off on my normal bunny trails here. But I think that, there's a ton, like Tracy said, there's a ton of landmines. There's your cap aspect to it. And it's not nothing I think is just a continual sustainable growth opportunity in those type of sales
Yeah. And I
or
will
those styles.
briefly discuss what we did with ours, right? So we did one in a grocery store. It was horribly boring. It was horribly not entertaining. It was horribly annoying. And I'm sure it was horribly annoying on everyone else's end who was watching it. And I learned, an hour and a half into this show, things that I would do this again. And we've talked many times. I will do that again. It's horribly not profitable. We were marking, at the end of everything, we were literally marking things up $1 over retail.
Yeah, we didn't
But
we didn't want to go into it where like most people will double or triple the
No.
dollar amount, and we didn't want to go into that.
My
So-
hope was that we would just sell 400 or 500 items in 3 or 4 hours and make a little bit of money.
It was too slow.
Millicent's in the chat makes a
Horribly
really good point. She says the live shopping puts the seller in the position of providing a service, not a product. They primarily have a shipping and handling business, and that's I think kind of where I was trying to get at. It's like you're not curating it. You're not picking out things. You're not even when if you're a pallet seller, you're still buying a pallet of goods that you feel as a seller is good to bring to your clients. Like here, it's just kind of like tell me what you want, So
Yeah.
I mean, actually, I like the feedback everyone's given. I mean, we got Kate and Millicent and stuff talking about different perspectives and opinions, and there's an opportunity there. But I think the beginning question was that what was the question you asked originally that got us onto this?
So selling style you feel is
Overrated. I
Not
think it can
annoying,
be
overrated.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where if people latch onto it too much, they could get themselves into trouble. Now, my question along these lines of the live shopping, what would you categorize the sales that basically provided my entire company with its springboard to success? And that's not really live shopping, but to pick this old house where we would consign an entire estate like an auction house and go in and sell live out of it. What would
If
you put
you
down?
did
I
it,
think it's the same principle though, right?
yeah, but if
I
you
don't
like
think it
when you
is.
bought that antique booth,
Uh-huh.
so a lot for me with the live shopping is the movement of the camera. And I can't
Yes.
take that either.
Yes.
Mhm.
But I enjoyed when you bought that antique booth, you set the phone down and you didn't have it constantly moving around. And if that's what you did during your pick this old house, I think it's
Well-
completely different.
Well, we did and didn't, and I'll go into that. I got a very interesting perspective to tell you about that in a second. But I'm just curious what if you would like how you would categorize it. If you were to label it a style of sale, what would you call that?
I would call
Style
it
of
a
sale?
lifestyle seller. That's what I would call it.
Lifestyle seller.
That's yeah. I actually have some notes on different types of selling styles, and
Okay.
I would put that into
Now,
the lifestyle.
I would call it live sorting.
I would lump it right into the same category we're talking about.
That's awesome. That's why I wanted to ask that question. Now, my other observation, which I find very interesting, whenever I take and do the movement and wobbly camera scenario, my room count goes up.
Yep.
Really?
Yes.
And
When
why
I
do
do
you
it at
think
the
that is?
warehouse,
100%.
when I do it at the warehouse, when I, at any time my camera's on the move, my room count goes up.
Do you think it's the reality TV, the curiosity of we want to see behind the scenes, we want to see what's happening, not just
I
I
think
think
for
that-
Jeremy, definitely. Like,
I-
oh, he's showing us this on screen, but what's he got back there in that box?
Right.
Yeah, like some of my best days are still, if I ever do them, which I wanted to incorporate it, but it gets and again, this is where your you start running into issues. When I would bring a van full of stuff and just back it up, and I'm back there, and we're moving the camera from one location over to another location in the warehouse, and then selling in the back room, and then bringing it back and selling stuff out of the van,
You know,
I honestly
and moving stuff all over the
Actually-
place.
most
I honestly believe that same scenario is why the storage unit category does so well. You have no idea what's in that unit and what treasures, especially if they're doing it live, not like these people that are loading it up to get out of the storage unit, bringing it back to their studio and then selling it out because you feel like it's already been sorted through. They've picked out all the good stuff. But the ones that are in the storage unit, hey, we just bought this yesterday, we're going to sell it off this weekend. And I have seen hundreds of people in a show like that typically don't have hundreds of people in their
Yeah.
show.
or the dumpster dive show.
Yeah, Monty, love it.
Yeah.
So
We
Dumpster
have
dive's
some-
amazing.
We have a couple of good comments. So, and I'm sure I'm missing some, so I apologize if I'm missing your comment. But this one, Millicent said, I worked with the seller who did an entire day at an estate sale. They went to check out and the company refused to sell the products at that point after they already sold them. So that could be a really, tricky situation.
Well,
we
that's
have-
an upfront conversation to have before you even go in and start selling.
Yes.
That's a
That's
mistake.
exactly right.
That to me, that is a colossal flaw on being a novice in the online street, because that's the first thing you know to do. Like, hey, do
Yeah.
you mind if I even do this?
And then
But-
we seem to have
and I saw
quite a few
another one.
people. Oh, go ahead.
And I saw another one at an estate sale who had already worked out a price. I don't know if it was day 1, day 2, day 3, whatever day it was of that sale, but they had already come in, worked out a pricing structure for everything, and then just did dollar starts and sold it off and won money or lost money. So 100%. You get your price set first and get the agreement that you're buying these things.
Absolutely. Quite a few people seem to take to those sales, kind of like the mystery of them, and maybe finding things that they might not find in their own, flea markets and stores or whatever.
And that goes back to my introduction, right? There's a selling style that's right for you, and a selling style that
Absolutely.
the buyers that you attract are going to appreciate. And there are plenty of people that do like that.
Yes.
Um,
And plenty that don't, obviously.
And I'm backtracking a little bit, but now that I think about it, Tony, when you would take the camera in the warehouse and then start doing a warehouse tour,
Oh, it was
your
great.
count went up.
It was great.
Yeah.
Absolutely did.
It's gonna happen.
They saw
So
90 pallets and they're like, oh my gosh, what is going on here? Let's find out.
That was back in the live tile days, though.
Yeah.
Didn't matter. Even
So
today, people
yeah,
swipe them through.
I do have to. I have to think back if I've done a walkabout since the live tile was gone. So that obviously could have been a factor. But does anybody
I'm
else
pretty
have
sure
any
you have.
overrated or other answers to that question?
So my
What
pet
is your
peeve,
answer to your own question?
it's not the selling style by itself, but I guess it kind of is. It has to do with the dollar starts and the bidded up chat. The
That's my-
screamers. I
that's my-
cannot stand it.
Oh, the screamers, yes.
And I don't even call it overrated. I call it annoying as hell.
I call those the hype sellers. Those are the hype sellers. Those are
The hype sellers.
just the loud sellers. Oh, claim shows. Chatty Wampus threw one in there. Claim shows is
Yeah, I don't mind claim shows. I used to shop nails a lot,
Yeah.
and nails are almost exclusively claim shows. So I guess I just kind of got used to them.
I think
Claim shows?
Yeah.
Chatty, I think if you look at claim shows, it's claim where they'll put 5 or 6 items up and the first person to claim number 1 or number 3 gets it. They don't run the auctions, they claim it, they put it in a basket and they check out at the end.
Oh,
It's if I understand, Chatty, you may not like them, but if you look at it from the seller's perspective, these are typically low dollar items and they're saving that 30-cent transaction fee, which is on low dollar items adds up to a huge percentage of the sales over the course of the
However, it is an algorithm killer.
It is an algorithm.
Yes.
Because what helps boost the algorithm? Auctions.
running
Yes.
stuff.
so did that cover all of our either pet peeves or
What's yours, Jeremy?
Yeah, you
I
didn't
don't
tell us
really.
yours.
I as you like you said. I'm going to say I'm going to find probably pretty parallel. All of us have been on and been selling for a while. The screaming and yelling, and then there's obviously the other thing. I don't even want to talk about like and I think we probably should have said that at the top. What we're going to talk about is really not going to be the gambling aspect, principles on whatnot, because none of us really partake, or I believe I can speak for all of us that we don't agree with doing those type of sales. Right. It's not in our repertoire or have any plans on doing it. And then the gamification, I should say. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't want to.
Tony wants to do one, but
I want to do one.
I gotcha.
But the negatives are too great.
The negatives outweigh the positives right now, and I have not figured out a proper way to do it to where the scales would be even there.
And the card and like the card breaks and all that stuff. So mostly anything that I think is overrated would fall into that type of stuff because I don't agree with the fundamentals behind those type of sales.
Yeah.
So I mean, as far as the live selling as a complete top down, every platform that does live selling, whatnot, and the like, eBay, anybody that does that, those are my pet peeve. Those I think are hurting the entirety of the selling style in its entirety. So that's my I think is overrated and not good at the same time.
I will say this is not the majority, but I have seen a jewelry, what would you call that show? The gambling show. It was gambling, the surprise show.
It was a surprise. It was kind of like a surprise set.
But it was done right. Like it wasn't like we've got costume rings and all these boxes, and we got silver in this one box. Every box was amazing.
Every box had amazing product.
I think done right, it can do well, but most people don't do them that way.
Correct.
And fairly.
Correct.
Yeah. And that's it. And I don't want to go down that bunny trail. I mean, I think as far as what people are going to get out of this, I know. I was just answering the question. We can go down the bunny trail, but the thing is, I don't think any of us really have a lot of experience other than observing those type of sales.
No, we do not. But I would run a show similar to that as long as I can make it within TOS. I thought it was a fantastic show.
It was.
It brought some really good buyers into the room. It brought out some really quality jewelry, and there was not a single person who won that auction in that show that I watched that was disappointed.
Yeah. I mean, you can do it right. You can, if you get your distribution of value appropriately placed within all the, no one's going to be upset and there's money to be
Correct.
made. I mean, the problem is that the temptations to abuse it are
100%.
are
100%.
just all over the place with that stuff.
Yes.
But I have a question. Since we're talking about selling styles, what type of selling style would you recommend to somebody starting new? That's starting new in live selling. What do you think would be a good, simple format that would be effective and of better value than others? Like what you would prioritize?
Before anybody answers it, I'm going to say this. As with everything else that we answer questions on, it depends on what you want it to be, right, Jeremy?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to come out of the gate firing on all cylinders and start on your dollar starts and start on your volume selling? Do you want to be the curator? Do you want to have these high dollar items where you're running 50 to 70 items in a show? I mean, what is it that you want your Whatnot live selling to be?
And actually, Tracy's been talking about that a lot in her support shows about.
Absolutely.
And she's asked
I
the
know,
question
that's why I said it.
does anybody not want to grow their business and they're just happy where they're at?
Yep.
And surprisingly, quite a few people
Are happy at
Quite
the
a
level.
few. Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But if you're asking me, if someone comes into my room and asks that question, I'm going to be like, look, this is what you have to do. Get your sourcing squared away to where you can afford to do dollar starts. Be as entertaining as you possibly can. Go on as often as you possibly can. There's nothing different here than what we tell people every single day when they ask these questions. But that is what we built our business on from day one. And I'm not sad about how it's gone in our almost a year and a half. And that's how I would recommend people to run it.
To start, I'm talking more from a tactical selling style, like what we're kind of discussing today. Like
Gotcha.
I
those
have
are
a
fundamental
thought.
principles with whatever tactic you use.
Yes.
You can implement the run as often as you can, as quickly, and be engaging and all that. So format wise, a selling style is what is the kind of the direction I'm asking.
What
do you
I
think,
would
Tracy?
recommend, what I would recommend for a new seller. Now, this isn't a long-term strategy. Obviously, I think if you start this way, you would end up branching out. I would recommend pick a niche and focus on it, a curated type of a style. Learn what you're selling, learn how to price, learn how to source, learn how to do all the things within one niche. It's kind of, Jeremy, like it relates to your theory of putting your eggs in one basket. Learn how to do something and do it very well, and then expand from there. That's what I would recommend versus trying to appeal to everybody and anything, because then you don't, it's hard to develop a good strategy if you're trying to make everybody happy. And I see this in vintage a lot is I'm going to sell mixed vintage. Everything I do is mixed vintage. I may have an MCM, I may have an antique, I may, you're all over the board. I'm going to do some glass, some pottery, some wood. And no, people don't know what you specialize in to help build that audience.
it'd be hard to build the audience.
Yep.
Yeah. So the more focused you are, at least at the beginning, that's what I would recommend.
My perspective, I mean, it's kind of actually the opposite. And that's because my personality is live learning on the fly. And we did this, and this is just throws back to the entire principle of box lot sales styles at auctions, the choice principle. It's a very easy thing to put 6 different products up on the screen, offer choice, be able to keep running, attract the interest of multiple sellers coming in and out of your room. Not to mention, you don't need as many bidders because you have multiple people bidding on different items in the same auction. So you don't have to have 2 people interested in one item. You have to have 2 people interested in 2 different items to raise the price on any said piece.
We're doing a choice type with our earrings.
And it's still doing very well.
I don't even need 2 people to bid. I'll have
They'll bid
one
themselves.
person bid themselves up to $10 to take the whole tray.
So,
I will, and they'll bring it up in the room, and I'm like, look, I'm not going to say that because I don't want to be like a used car salesman trying to encourage you to bid yourself up to $10. But she's right. You can technically do that if you want, but I don't bring that out. I really
you don't encourage it.
Yeah, I feel slimy doing it, but you don't need 2 people in our particular format.
I'm just trying to point out, like, and again, I don't think there's anything wrong with whatever the styles are. I think there's a multitude of styles that fit different selling personalities and traits. Like that's why I said for my type of personality, I like to learn what is people are interested in instead of guessing live, while I'm actively selling. And that is one way to do that. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then let your potential buyers kind of direct you. And there's a lot of opportunities to engage. There's a lot. You have more than one item out there to talk about. And we kind of started that way here and whatnot. It's obviously why I bring it up. We did that in the comic book world when we first started, and then did it later on. I think that's the way I used to do my Monday morning leftovers for a while. I had a bunch of small stuff, and I would do choice with 6 or 8 items out there. And our choice tray was that way. But our Friday show was fundamentally the way people decided to pick the boxes. We had a pile of stuff in the choice tray, and it's just a consistent, functional, workable system that's not very complicated to implement. And you can see the principles behind how it works and how it can be beneficial. And my big go-to that I really enjoy is that attribute that you don't need a ton of people in your room, like 20 people, because they're bidding against multiple items. It's almost like having a room that's 30 or 40 people, essentially, as far as bidders go.
Do you think, though, there's a difference between when you started doing that 4 years ago versus now on Whatnot, where the competition seems to be so much higher, that when I heard you describe it, what I'm thinking is the one thing we always hear from new sellers is, how do I keep people in my room? Well, if you're showing a little bit of this and then a little bit of this and a little bit of this, you're going to have that in and out crowd. Like, you're not going to see that consistent. Do you think that could be very discouraging at the get-go for new sellers? And was it different 4 years ago?
No, I think it's the same situation where, just like you as a personality and seller, you're going to find the personality of buyer. There's people that like an eclectic mix of stuff, and then there's people that like, it's no different. Like when people we're talking about, and that's what's awesome about what we're talking about. You're going to have the people that I'm sure, talk in the future here about a selling style that I don't touch with a 10-foot pole, and that's pre-listing stuff, and doing doing a request show or something like that.
Maybe.
To me, the other nice thing about it is, if you're new, it creates an opportunity for comfort, in my opinion, because you're comfortable. You can run with only 3 people in your room. You don't need to ask them what they want. You're already asking them what they want in the process of running the sale. It kind of shrinks all that down for the person to get comfortable and kind of find their way through the market.
Before Lysandra interjects here, I'm going to say that is absolutely one of the shows that I hate watching. What do you want? What are you looking for?
There's a question.
So what if you...
Hey guys, there's a question in the chat. How do you run a claim show and they never heard of it?
Okay, so let Lysandra do what she will lose this thought. I swear she will.
I've kept it for like a minute and a half.
And that's impressive. That is impressive.
No,
we'll come back to
so
claim.
what if you niche down like Tracy advises and then did the claim show? So that way you're still building a long-term audience, and from kind of the get-go of things that you either like to sell or are most profitable for you, and you're still getting the benefits of that choice auction and variety, and not needing 2 people to want the same one item.
Yeah, that's fine. I do want to do one thing. Let's distinguish the difference of definition based on what we already talked about: claim versus choice shows.
Correct.
Claim is
big
the one where
difference.
you build a box and then cash out at the end. A choice show is not that.
A claim is no bidding.
Yes. A
It's a
choice.
set price. Here's what the prices are. So take the nail show. There's going to be 6 sets of nails or marbles. There's going to be two marbles on the screen. They are $5 a piece. The first one to claim marble 1 or marble 2 gets it at $5. There's no bidding. The auction is not run. The seller puts that in their box and then continues on with their show. And then at the end of the show, they bring their box out, they total everything up, they run an auction for the total amount, and it's all paid for in one shot.
Yeah.
That's
the claim show. And then a choice show is where show the marbles again. You show that, you run the sale, and the winner gets to pick which marble they want.
Which one you want.
You want the white one, the blue one, the yellow one, the green one.
I just want to clarify for everybody so they understand, so when they're asking questions, because that can be very confusing. If you don't understand the mechanics of the different, they both kind of sound like, what's the difference between the two?
Yeah.
You do, and Chatty, you do risk that person leaving the room before checkout, which is easily solvable because that would only happen with that person one time, right?
So, I mean, some of the negatives of a claim show is 1, it's not an algorithm booster because you're not running auctions. 2, especially for new people coming on to Whatnot, you're going to be repeating yourself a lot on how you're running the show because people come into the show and they don't understand how to get the item on the screen.
Yes.
And number 3, you risk the person leaving without paying.
Yes.
Although, at least in the nail category, it doesn't happen a ton.
It's few and far between.
Early on, I ran a hybrid version of a claim show with records. And what I did, instead of waiting till the sale was concluded, there was once you built up to this much, I would run it. I wouldn't put it in. I'd run the whole stack as an auction, starting at the price.
Gotcha.
They'd be like, my pile is this, and one that had, let's say, 6 records, because that would fit into a box. I'd be like, all right, this is your pile, but since it's your pile, chances are you're going to win it. But if they picked all the good stuff, it still opened it up for other people to bid.
Oh, that's
and it was fun. It was fun because people would strategically put crap in their piles to dissuade people from bidding.
On the other stuff. And so when you did that, did you do it in a manner that it would hit the max of the box that you were shipping out for that 921 or whatever it was, and then
this was pre 921 days, but yes, it was designed. It was designed to I think it was 5 or 6 records fit in a record mailer.
Gotcha.
So that was my
good idea too.
I want to address. Crystal made a comment just because we were talking, and this was my advice. If you start with a niche show and build your customer base and then you switch to something else, you have to start all over again with a new audience. I think there is some truth in that. I don't totally disagree.
There is.
But I also feel it's, I would liken it to cleaning your house. You can start to clean in your kitchen and then you go to the bathroom and you see something dirty there. So you're going to clean the bathroom and then you're going to pick up stuff in the living room along the way. At the end of the day, you haven't accomplished a clean house. You've got clean pieces because you're spread too thin. And I look at business the same way, that if you spread yourself too thin, you're going to do a whole lot of stuff, but not any of it very well. So you really need to focus in at least to some degree.
That's AD.
My advice.
Tabitha says that's ADHD.
And I also think it depends on the category that you're trying to cross into, right? Some categories have a lot of crossover. Like Tony and I going from health and beauty, which is what we started with, into food was a very easy crossover for us.
Yes.
But then crossing into jewelry,
not quite so easy.
Starting over.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
100%.
And the thing I think is very important for everybody to understand, that the more experience you've been on, the more you're going to realize that live selling changes constantly, and so just get used to it. Whether you start with a niche and really dig down, get used to the fact that you're going to be shifting gears at some point in time in the future with the way you sell, the product you sell. It's going to happen, whether it's through extended competition or just other opportunities that present itself. So I don't think I understand what you're saying about starting off with a niche, but whether you start off with a niche or whether you start off with like a choice option that I was talking about to find essentially your niche or your buyer's market, it's ever evolving and ever changing. I mean, you'll have people that come in that will spend so much money. The bigger you get and the longer you sell, we would call them whales when we first started. They come and go, which actually drives the direction of the merchandise you buy. Because if a whale decided we're done spending, or they got out of control, or they're just like, oh, that was fun, I found somebody else to buy the same stuff for cheaper, then what you were getting for that merchandise goes away, and then you have to find your new groove. So just get used to that fact. That's just that's so. I don't think going about it, any of these multitudes of ways is a bad thing. But one thing that's definitely going to be happening is forever change. You're always going to be pivoting.
Absolutely. And I think too, if you want to sell a bunch of different things, I mean, we have estate sale, we have storage unit. There's categories that encompass multiple types of products that are there. You go. There's an answer. You can sell a multitude of stuff in a certain category. My perspective is more like, I'm not going to do vintage decor, kids clothing, jewelry all at the same time. It's just too much to do any of it.
I was going to say,
well.
What's your definition of niche?
Yeah.
So more like
niche
one
in
category.
One perspective. Yeah. Could be a category, and other people's definition could be, I want to sell, styrofoam peanut figures.
I will say that both times that we crossed categories, we tested it out in our current categories. So like before we started having full-blown food shows, we started throwing a little bit of food into our health and beauty shows to test out and see if our audience liked it and was going to follow us into that category.
And we did throw jewelry in, but while it was okay, while we mixed it in, it wasn't anywhere near, and it did not cross over well when we switched
with our audience.
Yeah. So,
but just because you're starting over is not the end of the world.
Nope.
It's really not.
No, it's not. I think it's healthy sometimes. What other I kind of want to see if there's other styles that you guys want to chat about here, because it seems like we went over live shopping, we went over a claim sale. I just was doing some talking about choice. I mean, we can obviously keep talking about any of those, but what other?
Let's do a curated pre-listed show.
Yay!
Okay.
I could talk about that.
Don't look at me for direction on that one. Who wants to start talking about that one?
Lysandra, let's hear what you have to. Oh, this is me all day. Okay, I'm all for a curated show. That is basically all I do. Now, I do have some mixed vintage, but honestly, I've found I'm more so weeding out my big Saturday mixed vintage shows because they don't do very well. I find curated shows work the best for me and my selling style. I've done random listings for a long time. I've recently gone back to pre-listing, which not surprisingly, I think I've been working towards this and designing it. Since I've gone back to pre-listing, I've seen my average order value probably go up by about 3 times what I was getting on random listings. There's some truth to it, and it doesn't work for everybody. Again, it's not a Jeremy style or a Lysandra and Tony style, but for me, curated, pre-listed is where it's at right now.
So I'm a rando hoe. I love random pool shows.
A
rando hoe. That's what I call it. Because you never know what's coming next.
Term coin.
That's one of the reasons the estate sale category is so popular, though, is because people like the treasure hunt. They don't know. This message is held for review.
I showed it. SS. You're good.
But that's one of the reasons that category is so popular, because people like the surprise. You never know. You never know if you're going to pull out an 18-karat gold pendant necklace or an adult toy. Not that you can sell that on Whatnot.
Or a box of Q-tips.
Yeah.
You really just don't know.
However, we have been playing around with listings on Whatnot.
Yeah.
And I will say, and we kind of talked about this in other roundtables, Tony and I don't get enough bulk silver in to really cultivate a silver audience to drive up our price on it. And so we tried an all pre-listed dollar start show. by weight and price per ounce or per gram, it was our best show out of 3. So
Yeah.
we're gonna do it again, and we're gonna keep kind of looking at it and seeing how it works. And we have some glass in the bin, and it sells here or there, but
We
getting
don't,
into
we also
being
don't
a
push the glass.
we don't push the glass,
It's just sitting there.
and being a storage facility sucks.
And I do want to say, as well, while I love pre-listed, I think a little bit of surprise and suspense in there is still good. I still like to throw usually a couple of random items in at the end, but that's not the main format.
And I would just follow that up with this, Tracy, because not only heard from Kate on this same subject, but on other people as well. Is they'll go in, they'll look at what you have, and Lysandra and I were literally just talking about this morning.
Kate's the one that
Kate's the
really
one that
pointed it out
brought
to
this
me.
to us, yeah. And so we've talked about it quite a few times. But a customer will come in, they'll look at what you have listed and say, okay, none of that's for me, and then leave. Or they'll come in and they'll just drop a max bid on the one item that they're interested in, and they leave. Or maybe they come in and stick it out because they like the seller, whoever it is, and they'll stick it out for the show and try to have a little fun along the way. Lysandra and I both discussed that if we were to do it like that on a consistent basis, we would absolutely throw those randoms in throughout the show to kind of spice it up a little bit and keep it on your toes as to what everything you might see.
And I will
I like
say
that idea.
one big difference between our pre-listed show and our random item show, because we typically run dollar starts and random pools, is none of our regular jewelry buyers stayed in our Sterling show.
Nope.
Hardly any of them.
Yep.
They liked the randomness
They
of
liked
the
the-
price.
Well, that comes back to you're not only curating the items you're selling, you're curating your buyers through the way in which you're selling.
Yep.
And that's what, you hear me talk about that. I have my way, people have their ways. Some ways take longer to curate and attract the buyers because it's the style you're selling. But if that's what suits you best, you're going to end up doing better in the long run anyway, because it's suiting you best. You're going to be more engaging. You're going to be happier about how things are going. And then you're going to find your buyers and your people. And that's also another huge attribute that people, I feel, neglect to really let sink in. And they end up doing this where they're driving themselves nuts trying to like appease every style of buyer out there instead of just being
Can't
like
do it.
No.
appease the buyer that meets your personality type in the way in which you'd like to sell, because you're going to get along.
That's
And
right.
if you get along, you're going to have good chemistry on the in the chat and every so and me and the way my brain works, I just would not be able to do a curated sale. I every time I try, I'm like, this is driving me absolutely
It's-
off the wall.
It's difficult, Jeremy. I'm
People
not
are
gonna
asking
lie.
me
It's
questions,
difficult.
and I'm just like, no, I just want to sell it.
It's hard. It's hard to get me to sit my rear end down in a chair and list items out for 3 hours to be ready for a
Shouldn't take
show
3
next week.
No. It's not even that. There's people that are passionate about the items they sell. I'm not. I'm passionate about the selling of the items, not the items themselves. That's my passion. My passion is, the way I like to sell and the numbers behind it and how it works and my sourcing, the way I go about sourcing and all those elements is what I enjoy about live selling. And then there's people that are super passionate and could talk 10 minutes about an item and that helps sell it. And certain buyers really want that. They really want you to, explain the items thoroughly, shout out every single little flaw, nick, this, that, and the other thing. And you'll find those buyers and you'll build upon that. So, and that's obviously what I believe those type of sales lend to. I do believe also that those type of shows are a little bit, if you start out that way, it's probably a little bit more of a methodical, slower build to get.
Absolutely.
So that still goes back to throwing a little bit of the mix in where you'll catch some other people that might not otherwise be in there. Like, we've all done this where, you tried free shipping, you've done the random shows, you've done the dollar start, just whatever, and then you find your home. You find out what works, but all of that helps you build to the point where you're at right now to be successful.
I want to answer
Sweet.
Kate's question
That
here.
hurts.
I want to answer Kate's question. Have you ever costed out your time doing pre-listed versus live sorting shows, cost of your extra labor? Just curious. Um, Honestly, no. And that I'm sure that sounds crazy coming from a CPA. And here's why.
Yes.
I
But
have.
here's why. Okay,
Hey,
here's
the
why.
numbers won't
I don't
even
pay
it.
myself
Why
a
not?
salary. I don't pay myself a salary. My time that I put into listing, I put into selling, I put into sourcing, into cleaning has zero value in the product's value. It has zero amount. It has zero basis on what that item is going to sell for. My mindset and my goal is to get the highest price for my items. So even when I was randomly doing stuff, I sell vintage decor. Now this may not hold true for clothing and jewelry and everything else, but in vintage decor, if I clean an item, if I know where the call outs are, which means I need to clean it and show it in its best light, I get more money for it. So I'm already cleaning items. Now, I'm going to make the most efficient process I can in photographing and listing, which I've got that down to about 2 hours now, aside from the cleaning of them. So about 2 hours a show. So I'm not spending much time. Then at the end of the month, when I look at my net profit, I then decide, is my net profit, the amount I get to keep at the end of the day, worth the hours I put in last month? If the answer is yes, I can continue to do the same thing. If the answer is no, I need to change something. And considering the fact that since I've been back to pre-listing, I've increased 3 times my average order value, it's well worth it to me. I'm making more money pre-listing than I was random. But I hear it's such a misconception, and I'm going to get on my soapbox. And I'm going to shut up really quick here so I don't go on a huge rant. But that people say, oh, well, you got to account for your time in sourcing and cleaning. And then unless you are physically on a payroll in your company, that means zero in your product. It means something at the end of the day in your net, but not in the value of that product. I'm done.
Tracy. No, don't be done. Don't be done. I like that conversation, actually. But I would ask this question. If you don't truly track it day to day, what are you looking at to improve the process along the way? So at the end of the month, 100% hypothetical, but let's just say at the end of the month, you made $5,000 profit and you spent 300 hours in your sourcing, your cleaning, your listing, and your selling, and your shipping. How are you tracking the fact that one or two of those things that you were doing could be efficientized enough to drop 300 hours to 260 hours a month and automatically see an increase in your monthly rate if you're not keeping track of that day to day through the month?
Because
how do you keep track of whether things are going to be profitable enough for you to scale your business and hire someone in, like you've talked about hiring in a shipper?
Look, a twofer.
For me,
Sorry.
okay, so kind of it's the same answer for both questions. I work full time. I'm already working 45 hours a week at a full-time job. I could very easily look at a week and know about how much whatnot time I put in. I know what I spend on the weekends and I know what I spend in the evenings or in the morning shows. So I'm putting in about 30 hours a week. I'm putting in 30 hours a week, whether I was doing random listings or pre-listings. It's just how that time is being spent is geared in different ways. So it's the same time for me. That may not be everybody's scenario, but for me, I spend about 30 hours a week on whatnot business. So when I'm looking back at the end of the month and I'm looking, okay, am I making enough to justify spending 30 hours of my precious time? That's a yes or no question. And then I start looking at its systems after that. It's drilling down into what I'm doing on each specific task. How do I improve my picture taking? How do I improve my listing? How do I improve my shipping? It just comes down to improving systems and efficiency, not necessarily tracking how long I'm shipping or tracking how long I'm photographing. I just happen to know I've got photographing and listing down to about 2 hours.
Yeah. And for me, I just see a plethora of opportunity costs in that style of thing for me. Like if I'm like, I have 40 hours worth of that I spend a week on whatnot, which that's not, I'm just hypothetically, I'm looking at, okay, if I spend all that time, how many more items could have I sold? How much longer could have I been on taking everything in. And obviously it's different for me having other people that I'm paying per hour for shipping and all that kind of stuff, which is a
It
direct equation you can factor in, but it's an equation you can factor in. So, and I know that the other perspective, I personally believe, Tracy, that once you have the opportunity to expand, I feel like you might alter that perspective just slightly, because one of the things that seems to me, is your sourcing opportunity time is very constrained. It's not just
It is.
open.
Absolutely,
So
yes.
because of that constraint, you can look at it from this perspective, and it's a very effective way to look at it. I don't think it's wrong. I think it's a great way of utilizing with your constraints in sourcing. I don't have a constraint in sourcing. I also don't really have a constraint in selling time. Like if I, which I do, I want to expand my selling time because I've done, like you talk about, creating efficiency in my shipping department to the point where they can handle a much larger workload. So, I do something similar, we all should. Narrowing down, you should always be doing that with your systems. Like, how
Yes.
can I improve the systems to open up opportunity elsewhere? And, for me, it's sourcing and more selling time. And you guys already know that. I mean, that's not a mystery. And I also, from the broader perspective of what I was talking about earlier, solidifying the large buy opportunities is where my safety net is for my future, because of what I see happening around with prices and everything going up.
Yeah.
So
And 100%,
anyway,
if we are to add another show on, it probably would not be a pre-listed show. It would probably be a random show for that specific thing that you're talking about.
yeah.
So,
But
Lysandra, I didn't answer your question, and how I know if I can scale up and hire employees, like I've just recently hired my daughter as a shipper, is looking at the net profit at the end of the month. What's left? Do I have enough cushion here to start paying somebody? And I mean, she's my daughter. It was cheap labor, you know.
Sorry, Zoe.
I know for me, and we're way off topic on here, but I know for me, my thinking on time spent doing things drastically changed when we got our first employee. And all of a sudden, these $5 items, my husband insisted that we listed on the bay, or breakable items. It's a big reason we don't sell glass anymore. Is it
The time it
once
takes to
once you're
ship them.
paying someone to ship those and all the extra, cost of packaging, it just was not profitable unless you get into like really nice, expensive pieces.
Correct.
And
or
then
you're
you're
paying
probably
nothing.
going down on volume.
Well,
I'm
and
sorry.
surprisingly that you said nice, expensive pieces and like your focus, over like the last month and a half, my focus has been reducing the number of items I'm offering per show and increasing the quality significantly.
Yep.
I mean,
Absolutely.
and I ran the least amount of items this last Saturday and made the most money I've made in months on one show
Yeah.
with the
Nice.
least amount of items.
Yeah, you only
But
have
it's
like
been-
40 items,
I
right?
had 41 items, but
Yeah.
it's been a very slow progression because it's not something you just click a switch and do.
Yep.
The other thing too, I mean, and this is such a good point because we are all at different places in our businesses. And my struggle right now is I do want to source more. I do want to have another show. I'm limited on time, but knowing I'm limited on time, I'm also looking for any way to do things better, do things quicker. We have employed a lot of various AI tools to help in things that I just have no time to put my attention to in the business. So it's not, you've got to, I guess, I mean, all of us have to use our time in the best possible way, the most efficient way that moves our business forward. So,
All right. Do we have another? That was a fun bunny trail.
Yeah, that was.
I have another selling style that we haven't talked
That
about.
was just what I was going to say. We got another selling style
I have
to
two.
jump into.
So
Okay.
here's two. You pick which one you want to talk about. The expert selling style, where it's deep knowledge, super slow, storyteller. They're just, it may be a good 5 minutes, but maybe 10 minutes between items. That really expert one. And then silent shows.
Oh,
I could do a
I'm not a
silent
fan
show
of
before I
either.
could do an educational show.
So, okay. The storytelling is going to have to be a person that is easy to listen to. I'm pointing at you, Cher. I'm pointing at you. You are 100% easy to listen to, and I could sit in your show for the time that it takes. There, I know, I love you too. There are plenty of people that I cannot make it through story time. So for that style, you would have to be really engaging, at least on for Tony, at least for Tony. And I may or may not represent a huge percentage of the population. I don't know, but you would have to be really good at what you're doing to captivate me, to keep me in your room for one auction every 5 minutes.
I'm the same.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan, but I can see the value in it because I do see the prices some people can get for stuff when they have a very a wealth of knowledge. I mean, there's a knowledge sales aspect, like it builds that trust level. Like, okay, this person, and then it also adds value sometimes when you start realizing, you know, how genuine or and authentic or rare a piece actually is to have it in certain conditions and stuff instead of just being like, hey, these things are old and you don't see them very often like I do, what I'm saying. It's just,
Yes,
so
And
yeah, and I know there's buyers that love that.
there are.
I
They
would
like
say
to
a
come on and get
pre-listed.
educated.
Oh, sorry.
It's
I
all
would
right.
say a pre-listed show would probably go best with that too. A knowledge-based seller.
Yes.
Give them
That's
because
the
you can
case, right?
because you can
Yeah.
post it up. You've got additional information in there. They can read through that or look through the pictures while you're telling your story. And I mean, if your story takes 5 minutes, they've got 5 minutes to pre-bid on that item, and fall in love with it. So
I'm actually, again, I mean, I'm going to be biased and partial, but I'm more impressed with people that can pick up something random and tell you a story and history about it.
100%.
That's just like, wow, like, my uncle
This guy
being
knows
in
his stuff. Yeah.
my uncle being in the auction business, his entire life since he was a kid, like there's hardly anything that he can't pick up and tell you, how it was manufactured, the way it was this way, the way, where it, what the real ones you want that are worth a lot of money. And
Yep.
almost anytime he picks up something and says something, every person goes, wow, you must collect those. He's like, no, I just know, he just knows about it. And it's an impressive attribute that I think when people can do it, it's very impressive. And you're willing to stay because there's a wealth of knowledge then that must be, that to be had when you're watching someone that can do stuff like that.
Is a perfect example of that, Jeremy. I finished my show last night and I rated into someone, and I was in her show for a little bit and she rated into someone else. And this guy was selling jewelry, and he was pulling randoms, and he was, while bantering and cutting up and making fun and cracking jokes, extremely knowledgeable about the jewelry that was coming across the screen in a random fashion. Grabbed a piece and said, oh, look at this and look at this. Look, that bead, that is from the early 1900s or late 1800s, and then started telling people why that bead was and selling it. Now, do I know if he did all of this research prior to the show and spent 20 hours on
Or
doing
just
all
a
that?
wealth of knowledge.
Or is he just a knowledge bank on jewelry? But that young man kept me in his show for 3.5 hours learning jewelry last night.
no wonder you didn't want to wake up this morning.
I was up really late last night watching this guy in this show in jewelry. And I mean, I'm selling jewelry now, so I'm all about learning and stuff like that. But his ease and fluidity in going from piece to piece and the knowledge that he was showing, it had me. I was stuck. So
From your description, I would say that had to be organic and genuine.
I
To be
agree.
able to banter and do that and still throw that stuff in between, that's.
I agree. It was a really good way to see it happen. So I was pretty impressed by that, and I'm going back.
What did you buy, Tony?
Nothing. I did win a giveaway though. You're welcome.
Look at him. He says all proud.
I know.
Anyway,
Tracy.
I just wanted that example because I fell right into what you were just saying last night. So I thought it was appropriate.
And what is your opinion, Tracy, on a
Um,
knowledge-based show?
I enjoy a knowledge-based show if it's kept at a good pace. If I'm waiting 5 to 10 minutes, I'm probably out after a couple items. But I really do enjoy learning about the items. So I like the knowledge based shows, but it takes a unique seller to do a knowledge base and still keep a very decent pace.
The other thing is
Yeah.
regurgitating knowledge after an extended period. You know, like you have a certain knowledge base, and then you start having to recycle it. Like how,
Yes.
you know, like it, and that also depends on, like I was talking about my uncle having a wealth of knowledge about everything, but not everybody's in their 70s and have been in the business as long as he has to be able to have that. So eventually, if you're a big fan, if your buyer base came in for the knowledge, eventually it's going to, you know, start wearing out and getting thin. So I you know, my personal favorite is letting the chat have the knowledge, and there's, you know, my psychological principles behind all that, but that's another thing. So what was the other one, Tracy?
Silent.
So let's dumb it down now and talk about the silent show.
I
No
think they have limited viability, and I think anybody that does it it's only going to last so long and die on the vine.
Do you really think so? I mean, I know we've all watched the one in particular that we're talking about, right? And I saw a dip for a period, but
It's back.
I've seen them rebound quite well.
I actually like silent shows personally, but that's typically because I already have you sellers on mute.
So they're all
Are you talking
silent
about-
for you.
Are we talking about the one that sells the stuff that comes
brooches.
in from AliExpress?
The brooches.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all
There's a new
this-
one.
Oh, there's a new one too?
Yep.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
I like silent shows as long as this stuff's running fast, but that's because I typically will have a show on in the background. I don't need the noise. I'm just kind of glancing up at the screen every now and then, and it works for me. But I don't know about the longevity there, which is one of the reasons we've been watching said particular show. And
To see how-
there's a health and beauty one. There's a couple different ones around.
Just so you know, they were around a while. There used to be a coin dealer that did it. There was it like years ago.
Wow, coins would be hard to do silent.
He was doing currency. And it was the same thing. He did good for a while, and then eventually it just doesn't.
petered out.
Yeah. And then it's personally, I mean, the other thing that's hard, my basis of comparison right now is seeing that aspect happen, and it might be product driven. I think that the jewelry ones, I think the stuff they're selling isn't like, you can buy that stuff for pennies if it's the stuff I think it is.
You can.
And you know, that type of style, if you're going to undertake it, that means you're constantly trying to get new buyers.
Yes.
Like, that's why you're going to see the ups and downs. You're going to see that roller coaster. So their ups and downs, I'm going to tell you my prediction on that. Their ups and downs are going to go up and down with Whatnot, because they sell on Whatnot, and that's what we're talking about. It's going to go up and down with Whatnot's advertising budget. When they throw a bunch of money at bringing new people on the platform, their sales are going to go up. When that stagnates, your sales are going to go down. That's my person. So if you want to live that life and not build your own infrastructure and you just want to ride those waves, then maybe that's an option for you. But I just think that's your worst case. That's your best case scenario.
But I would counter with this and say, if they truly are just paying pennies for cost of goods, and obviously they have a shipping team, they have to have a shipping team because they're running a couple thousand items a day. One person is running
1,000, isn't it?
I thought it was 2,000.
1,000.
Okay, say 1,000. It's 1,000 items a day. That's a shipping team still.
Mm-hmm.
That's not one person who's going to package up those orders. It's not bad.
Yeah, from a profit,
there's no
from a
training.
profit standpoint. But to me, buying stuff that anybody can go on and buy, like, I get that type of product in. I had a whole pile. I don't want it because for me, it's a reputation killer.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't like when I have it. That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Is it profitable? I'm sure it is. There's a ton of stuff that's profitable, but it's not who I am as a seller. So if that's your bag, knock yourself out. Buy it
I-
for
Not a
pennies.
reputation killer for them. That's all they sell.
I get what you're saying. I
Yeah.
also don't like selling stuff that's readily available for pennies that anybody
We
can
don't,
just go
yeah.
on. Like you've seen me do that with like certain things. I go on and I'm like, look, people will bid over it, but that I tell them, like, I'll give you an example. Those trays. I'm like, listen, if you want these trays, I'll sell them, but you can buy them for way cheaper. But for it to be cost effective for me, I only need like $15 out of it, $15 to $20. Don't bid any more than that. I can't stop them. They inevitably bid $30, $40 for it, and then I'm fine with it because I disclose. I'm like, look, don't do that. It's just
Right.
makes me kind of makes me a little bit uncomfortable. I like to throw stuff in if I remember to for that kind of stuff. But that's just me. I wouldn't be sleeping well at night if I was selling stuff I could buy from AliExpress for pennies and putting it up in a silent auction format and selling it for $7, $8, $10, $12, $15.
I'm not disagreeing with you in the fact that it's not our collective style.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any of us are.
You're just saying it's a viable option out there.
I think it's 100% a viable option, especially if you're a horrible host on Whatnot. If you are,
Because of bad personality,
if you are
silent
terrible, I mean,
you.
you
Some
don't
people
have
are
to
best
speak. No
silent
one has to
until,
look
like-
at you. I mean, you could be the worst Whatnot person ever and be highly successful at a silent show where you're running something every 7 seconds.
Hey, I love it from the perspective of you don't have to train anybody.
Yeah.
You could just have somebody sit there. I see the draws, and I'm just paralleling. I got off on a bunny trail with the product they're selling. Is it viable for other products? I don't know. So,
Yeah.
So
Tracy, what do you think?
Double dare Tony to host the silent show.
Millicent,
Thanks,
I
man.
don't
Oh my
think
God, that'd
it
be
would be
impossible.
successful. Yes. I think it loses what Whatnot's for. I mean, people are here for an experience, and if you're not engaging, you can't be engaging doing a show like that. You're going to constantly, like you said, be chasing new buyers. Why? Why make it harder for yourself? Just get in front of the camera and talk. I think I don't see that as a really long-term business plan without consistently chasing new buyers.
So
Can we, before you say that, can we make a note to come back in 18 months and see how these shows are doing?
You do that.
I'm
if you wanna keep
100%
track.
interested in this.
I
If
want
you
to
wanna
add
spend
in,
the time.
there's a silent show in the health and beauty category, at least one of them.
Yep.
And I actually kind of love their business model.
I love it too.
And this goes against what Jeremy says about eggs in one basket, right? They bought the same health and beauty palettes that we had.
Mhm.
The big difference, though, is all the best stuff was missing out of the show,
Yep.
which means they were putting it on other platforms to get the best margins out of that higher end stuff. And all they were using Whatnot for was liquidating the lower dollar amount stuff.
Yep. I don't care what
It was a
stuff-
silent show, 2-second auctions. Most of the stuff went for $1 to $3, $4, but I think for them, they were looking at it as fast liquidation, get it out of my warehouse so I can move on to the next pallet and the good stuff that's in that next pallet. And it's not that there's the stuff they were selling was bad or it was crappy product.
was
Some
just
of it was
okay.
great.
It was just lower end.
I mean, some lotions were, $20 lotions that they were selling for $3.
But our guess
Silent-
is that they were taking the $80 and $100 health and beauty items and putting them up on eBay or Amazon. And
Silent auctions also limit you to product that can sell it. Like you know what it is. It's basically you have to have new product, like that jewelry that they do. It's all brand new coming in, by the boatload.
oh, 100%.
And like the health and beauty, you hold it up, it explains, what it is, what it is. Do they have mods doing anything in those shows? Explaining anything? No mods or nothing. So, yeah, you really have to have a product that's already essentially selling itself.
It sells itself.
And to me, that's and how much of it's out there. And then if it does catch on and it's viable, how quickly is your competition going to get?
It's easy to replicate.
Oh, it's easy.
very
That's what I
easy
mean.
to
That's the
replicate.
other. So again, that's another to me selling style is riddled with landmines of potential,
I don't
downward
disagree
spiral.
with any of that.
Yeah.
but I like what it's doing, and I like the volume that it can move, and I like the no real training, or you don't have to have a good personality to do it. I can literally take Joe Schmo off the corner and put him into swiping things across the screen for 7 seconds.
That is one selling style I believe that you're not going to really pivot out of to success. Like if you're doing that, you can't just be like, okay, now I'm going to start talking and selling other merchandise.
Yeah, no.
You can't.
Your entire buyer base is going to be like, I don't know what's going on. I liked you for this simplicity aspect, and everything's completely upside down and backwards from what I liked, and you're starting from square one essentially. If you get in trouble and need to pivot out of it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I look at it
one
like
of them does have a mod.
Do they have a mod?
Sorry, Tracy,
and I
go
look
ahead.
at it like, we can all swing into Dollar General to grab a gallon of milk really quick. Am I going to do all my shopping there? No. I'm going to go somewhere to have a real experience when I'm shopping. So it's the same thing. I can swing into a show like that, grab something really quick, not engage. But ultimately, I'm going to go to a show that provides that entertainment, that engagement, the value for something.
Yeah, there's a whole subset of people who are on Whatnot as buyers that need the engagement. They need it, right? They're not there for the silent show. They're there. They're there for conversation and making friends and
social
or dropping bombs and creating chaos. I mean, that's what they live for, right?
This is a social media app.
It's 100%.
Which leads us into a selling style we haven't talked about yet either. The personality selling style. Whether it be someone that always has drama and is kind of chaotic that way, or just really building that loyalty around you and your personality. Can that be considered a style?
I was going to ask, is it a selling style?
What about the did that fit into the panhandling by proxy style?
Proxy?
Is that
I think the chaotic
shows?
one or the drama one would, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people love reality TV. There's always going to be a spot. The problem with your reality TV shows is that your dumpster fires have to get bigger and bigger. You start with one dumpster. A year down the road, you have to have 4 on fire to keep people in your show. So
when you're selling, and that's what I call panhandling by proxy, you're selling problems, not your merchandise.
Correct.
Or selling drama. And just what Tracy said, you have to constantly escalate your. I mean, I'm not going to say any names or anything like that, because throughout the years I've seen multiples of these, some more successful than others, where it's almost like they're selling their failure, but yet at the same time people listen to them for advice. And I'm like, why are you listening to somebody's advice where their success is coming from them constantly telling you how they're having problems financially and and business wise? I'm just like, what is going on here?
How are you so bad at that end, but you're telling me how I should be doing it? What is going on?
So I just I obviously I don't like that, but I know it's there and it's not going to. That's going to be coming. That's going to be on there. I don't think there's anybody that's going to be like, yeah, let's strategically look at how we can, create these drama type shows. I know people probably do it on their own. And then there's also the other built-in part that I do think is a strategy. I don't really call it drama, but the competitive shows.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
So with personality driven shows, entertainment shows, it's I'm not even talking about just the drama ones. And I'm going to say her name because I'm going to bring her up as a good example. JJ Shopper. We just had her on the podcast a few weeks ago. She is a whole personality and entertainment by herself. Now, do I think that's scalable within your show, like your business on Whatnot? I don't think so, because literally you are the show. The cool thing about that, though, is while it might be slower to build for people to fall in love with you, it don't matter what you sell. You are the product as much as the thing you're holding up.
Yeah. Now, to your note on scalability, there are future potential opportunities in that, which I think should have been here already. And that's other monetization avenues to live selling. Because you talked about it being a social app. And personality, what you're talking about being a thing, eventually someone's going to capture that value and turn it into additional streams of income in one app, whether that be through some type of advertising or whatever, or shared resources, however that comes to be. But that's where that additional level up could potentially come for people that are leveraging that.
I don't think I get what you mean. Can you
I
give me an
mean,
example?
you're utilizing your personality. You said, like, can you grow further? From an outside of the box perspective, let's just go with the simplest thing. If Whatnot decided we're going to allow previous videos back on and we're going to monetize it through advertising, that's a level up and a growth opportunity. Will that stuff happen? It's going to. The fact that it's not here yet is shocking to me. But will it? I believe almost 100%. I would bet a substantial amount of money at some point in time that's going to come down the road, because one of the selling aspects that Whatnot talks about when they're saying like that for rounds of funding is how long people are spending on the app. And if people are spending a large amount of time in comparison to other apps, the investors are looking at that as future potential money associated with your eyeballs. So the personality, what I'm trying to point out is there is future potential scalability for building a brand under your personality as opposed to just a product.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I mean, I don't even think it needs Whatnot turning on those past shows, right? You can stream it out to social media.
You can
clip it up
I mean, we're doing that exact same thing right now. We're clipping it, creating reels, and generating some revenue off of Facebook with running some of these things from our shows, taking clips from the shows. But someone's going to figure out a better way and really turn that into a real salary, right? Some real.
It's always big business consolidation, monetization, making more money off of other opportunities. So yeah, I just wanted, again, we're getting on the bunny trail, but you were talking about how it caps. I just see that there's an opportunity for for there to be not as much of a cap as you potentially think there would be.
I mean, and calling out Julie specifically, hi Julie, love you. As she grows and is no longer shipping Julie, but hires that shipping part out and hires out other things and gets a space, then she can spend more time online to be the host and the entertainment, and leave all the back end stuff to other people. That's another way she can grow that. But it's going to be as long as it takes anybody else, right? So.
And if you don't know who JJ Shopper is, I highly recommend you go back to the podcast we had her on and go check her out on Whatnot. She's a good time.
100%.
I think the only other one I had down, and I know we're coming up on 8, and we have another little topic we're going to talk about before we get off tonight, is kind of like the bulk wholesale shows. With that, I would consider that a different style of show.
Is it a selling style though, or is it just a different product?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, they're still incorporating most of them are still incorporating the bid it up chat because you need this talent.
I was curious about things like, we didn't really talk too long about it. Maybe we did the scan style shows or like the request style shows as a specific style. Like when people come on, they're like, I'm going to do, a request style where they throw a bunch of stuff out and people, okay, run this. Yeah. And same thing with, I consider the scan the same way. The scan/request style where it's like, my question, because I'm not on it, you guys jump around, or I don't know if you do, Tracy. I know you have a full-time job and probably don't have the opportunity to jump around and Whatnot a whole heck of a lot. Is that stuff still going on a lot? I know a lot of new people fall into that trap. They're like, what do you guys want? And we always, I feel any seasoned seller is always trying to tell the newer people, don't do that. But is there anybody can think of that has successfully done that model to the point where it seems like it would be a scalable opportunity to do so?
Not
I saw
that I'm aware.
I saw Tracy shaking her head. I already heard Lysandra say it doesn't work. Go ahead, make your comments, and then I'm going to devil's advocate for a minute. But go ahead.
I'm trying to think if I've ever seen anybody as anybody that I would, consider like a larger seller or on very frequently making
I
a lot of
haven't either.
sales. I I don't think so. Now, there are in the toy category, they use the scan strategically in a way I think complements their shows, but it's not like a full scan show. They use scanning as a piece of to enhance other things that they're doing within the show. But I don't think that's what we're talking about. If we're talking about full scan
There's
shows, I found it. I was actually listening to a somewhat newer seller doing a chat show the other day who was just pushing scan shows like, oh, everybody should do these. They're so great. And I'm like, keep your mouth shut. You probably shouldn't say anything. They're not that great.
Right.
They,
Yes,
yeah, no,
exactly.
they're not. To me, it's letting everybody else dictate your business instead of you doing your business. I think it stems from a lack of confidence. Honestly, I think it stems from a lack of confidence of they don't want rejection. They don't stand strong enough in their product. They're too afraid of being rejected, too afraid of people not bidding. So it's easier to ask what they want versus leading them down the road
Yeah.
of what they want.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. And they're also the ultimate people pleasers as well. They're trying to make everybody happy somehow and don't realize that that's not going to happen.
Cher says
So
she did it
that's
successfully with minis, but hated every minute of it.
yeah. So
and
go ahead.
real quick, there's also jewelry sellers that do that kind of like what you were talking about with the toy shows, where they'll do a quick scan, be like, does anybody want me to pull anything to run first? And people will be like, yeah, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. And they'll have 10 or 12 things. They'll run those real quick and then they'll do it again.
Yes.
And there's several jewelry sellers that do that. And that does work, in my opinion. But just
still
an actual scan show, I can't do it.
it's still boring to watch. I'm not gonna lie. I get annoyed when I'm looking through 14 trays of jewelry for the 7th time in 40 minutes as we're waiting to see what people want.
My curiosity is, would you say that would it be more viable for them to pivot away from that and do more of a traditional, like just pick up and run, as
100%.
opposed
So-
to coming to scan 10 and pick 10 items and then go
Oh,
back to do it?
gotcha.
So I'm gonna equate the scan show to our show at the grocery store. It was horrible, right? I've already said this in this show. It was horrible. It was it was so bad because it was, in essence, it was a scan show, right? I'm scanning the grocery shelves to see if anybody's wanting this and waiting for people to tell me what they want because I really didn't know how we were going to run this. But, and Lysandra and I have already talked about it, if we do that show again, that camera will never touch a shelf. I will literally just be grabbing product off the shelf and running it, even for the 5 seconds, and running everything that I can see and seeing what happens. Because even if it is not fruitful in sales, at least it's not boring everyone to death.
He's also talking about a store that has 800,000 products physically in its store. Different products. It's,
Correct.
I mean, literally, the store is what, 2 acres?
Yes, it's huge.
It's a
It's
2
huge.
acre store. It's huge.
Yes. But again, to answer the question, that is the same way I feel about in a scan show when they are literally just scanning, just those minute little movements so you can see everything on a shelf. Okay, I've seen it. Next, and then they go back and do it again because they might have gotten something, they might have not. And the jewelry ones are a little bit better when their audience is engaging and wanting the product that they're seeing. But I still say showing 3 to 5 trays at once is too much. You take too much time away from the actual selling. Me personally, run the whole damn tray. Whatever sells, whatever doesn't.
Move on.
and move on. So, again, these are just Tony's opinions. I am no way trying to influence you one way or another in running a scan show or not. There's my disclaimer.
I don't think they're healthy for business. I don't think it's healthy for people to go down that road of scan shows. I think there's way more viable selling styles. So, I know it's my opinion, but I'm just going to tell you, just if somebody new is watching, I mean, there might be some people that have success with it. I just think there's other more successful opportunities and styles to sell in than doing a scan show.
I think any other style that we've talked about tonight would be more successful than a scan show.
I would
in
rather
my
be
personal opinion.
Yeah. I would rather be yelled at than watch a scan show. That's where it is for me.
There you go, Tracy.
This is like, if it even looks like a scan show, I'm out.
Yeah.
So
And the problem is I can't get away from them because I still want to see, right? I mean, what do you have? And I still like to at least try to learn from other sellers and see what's going on. So I'll still watch them to see if I can pick up on something. I know you don't, but you never know that you might learn something in a show. And I'm all about learning.
all right.
One of those
So
other factors
answer me
is gonna
this.
hold
I have
a
a
lot of
question.
people for one scan.
I have a question. You were talking about how you factor your time when you are doing whatever it is that you do for your business. So how do you factor the time when you're running a show that you're constantly scanning and you're not selling anything?
It's a waste of time.
You factor it as,
A waste of time. Correct.
Yeah, it's a waste.
Although, Noel, because I am a very good devil's advocate, these people running scan shows may not need full-time money out of Whatnot. Maybe they literally just like coming in and sitting there and talking to people and maybe potentially selling 4 or 5 items in 3 hours. Maybe volume is not their thing.
Maybe their whole entire goal is the social hour
100%.
and not
Correct.
the money.
Correct. But
and
then
that's fine.
the question
that comes
that
down
you-
to the personality traits and the reasons you're on here for.
But
Yeah.
the question that
Or
you
on
brought up,
Whatnot or any of the apps.
the question that you brought up, then how do you know when to scale?
You never scale. They're not in it for scaling. They're in it for social. They're in it for they need some human connection of some sort. Maybe they're not getting it in other places, and that's their outlet.
Right. Here's my issue with that whole train of thought is there's people that are in it for that and they'll say that, but then at the same time, they're always asking, how do I get more people in my room and how do I grow?
Yes.
That's the frustrating part. It's like, first you have to sit down and decide what you're in it for.
Yep.
Yes.
Like you're basically saying, I want this, and I'm going to make that as an excuse why I want it, because I'm not really here to become rich or to replace my job. I just, I'm here for more to the social. But then the next day, they're talking about or asking, other people in chat shows and stuff, how do I get more people in my room? How do I grow my business? How do I source and how do I do all this? Like, you shouldn't need to worry about it if you're only on here to, socialize. If that's your main goal, then come on here. And even then, if you're on here for socializing, guess what's even better is deciding to do a knowledge show as opposed to, like we talked about earlier.
Absolutely.
There's still better options on every facet, I believe, than doing a scan show.
That is correct.
So,
Take your time, load your bin, go run a community show.
yeah, if you're here for social.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go for it. All right. Anyway, sorry.
It's all right. Is there anything else we missed?
I told the ones I had notated down.
Yeah.
I mean, I had like request shows, but we pretty much did that kind of thing. And then, I don't know if we talked pointedly about exactly the way I run shows, the pure and full-fledged, no requests, live sorting. But that kind of, I guess we kind of touched on that with the storage lockers and all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah, I don't think we really got into our thing as much, but we do it week to week, right?
but then week to week, yeah. So
I admitted to be a rando hoe. I admitted to it.
YouTube's gonna censor this one. Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right. So what was this other topic that we? Wait. Hold on. Before we get into the other topic, is anybody? There's 21 just watching us. Are there any questions on selling styles?
Well,
And I know
actually,
there's a 20-second delay in this too, so we're gonna just be sitting here waiting.
I have a question for the two of you, or for anybody that might be that ends up watching this podcast that's not familiar with all of us. What kind of selling style do you run on your
That's a
shows?
great question. We should have went over at the very top.
Probably.
You're welcome.
Who's starting?
Go for it.
Go for it.
Me, I am the $1 free shipping, live sorting, no requests show. That's what I do. It's volume based. Sit down, throw stuff out, go through it and sell it. I mean, obviously there's always those exceptions to that, but 95% plus of my business model here on Whatnot is doing jewelry, smalls, things in that fashion, where I sit down, put out a pile of stuff, pick it up and sell it. And that's it. I mean, there's a lot of nuance to that, and there's not enough time here, especially when we want to start talking about the other thing that Tracy's bringing to the table here to chat about. But I mean, when you really boil it down, that's what I do.
Yeah. And for me, I think I have two different styles. So when we're talking about vintage, it's structured, curated, dollar starts, very low reduced shipping. That's what I do for vintage. And then for everything else, it's more of an educational focused, where I'm selling, even though the more chat show, the structure is more chat show education, but I'm still selling guides and books. So it's still a money making venture.
And for us, we're pretty similar with Jeremy. Dollar starts, not the free shipping, but in jewelry, we're running the $3.99 max. It is random. I don't typically do requests, but sometimes some will flow through there if I can see it in a quick enough manner, but I don't really like that. And most of the time I spend listening to my wife telling me to run faster and stop talking so much.
And we do pre-sort just because currently a lot of our inventory comes in spaghetti form.
Yes.
And unless I'm right there undoing the spaghetti as fast as Tony can sell it, it slows the show down too much. So we do tend to untangle the spaghetti before the show.
And we'll run the specialized shows of jewelry, right? Well, I'll run necklaces in one show, brooches in one show, earrings in one show. We'll tailor a show
It's
and
curated
to a grouping, more along the lines to not grow the show to 100 people, but have 20 or 30 people who are looking for that specific type of product.
And we have been playing around with some dollar starts pre-listing stuff, and we'll continue to do so. But I don't ever see that being a main part of our live selling experience.
No, but I'll run them on
Yeah.
events-driven things, I think.
And I just have to make a side note that it puts a smile on my face every time I hear people reference tangled jewelry as spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
Yeah, that's on you, buddy.
It's stuck. It's stuck. That's exactly what it's kind of like.
Yeah. It's
All
a
right.
fantastic analogy.
So we have a treat for you tonight with Tracy. She's got some data, and none of us have heard it. So,
Oh, this is
and I love me some numbers. So I'm ready.
I'm going to not try to bore too many numbers, but they are important in this. So what we're going to talk about is, for the last few weeks, over the course of last month, I've been doing my promotion experiment where I've been paying to promote. And the whole reason I did this is I have very, very been open and very blunt that do not pay Whatnot to promote. It does not work. It's a waste of your money. However, I had never done it. And I've heard both arguments on both sides, some pro, some con. And so I decided to put my money where my mouth is and actually pay for promotions on certain shows, and just gather all the data and let the data speak instead of it coming from me, instead of being completely biased. There's always going to be some bias there, but I tried to eliminate it as much as I could and go just data. If you guys are wondering, when I say promote, I'm talking about paying Whatnot to promote the show, not the bless the chat type of promotions. It is paying Whatnot. So I'm going to try to run through this really quick to leave time for talking or questions. I took 3 shows that I did not promote, very recent shows, and then immediately following 3 shows that I did promote. So I'm looking at them in total, 3 and 3, not promoted, promoted. On both of those, they were vintage decor, pretty much the same type of items, about an hour and a half shows. So I tried to keep it as apples to apples as I possibly could. There's always some variables outside of my control, but for the most part, I tried to keep it the same. So the way I'm going to go through this is by looking at the promotion summary report. So I kind of noted the key metrics on there, and I want to talk about each one very quickly. But before I do that, I think it's huge to note that you can have a completely different opinion on whether promote works or not based on what your goal is in using it. So if your goal is to get views or to get follows, promote may be a totally viable solution for you, and it may be fruitful. I went into this because my main goal for using promote is to have more buyers at the end of the day, to bring new buyers into my shows. That was the goal. So everything that I'm talking about is through that lens of, is paying Whatnot to promote bringing new buyers into my shows. So to start with, my spend, I did $25 an hour. So it cost me $28 to $41 per show. The first big metric is sales from promotions. Did this result in any new money? Actually, according to Whatnot and the report that they give, the 3 shows in total generated $270 in sales directly related to the promotion, supposedly. That equals about 11% of the total revenue of the whole of all 3 shows. So just a small little portion would have come from these promos. It equals about a 259% return. I know that doesn't mean a lot. However, I say that I want to point it out because the promotion summary report that you get throws a lot of numbers at you, and they look really impressive. And if you're not digging into them, if you're not really asking the questions, what's behind those numbers, 259% return can look super impressive. That, oh, look at all this return I got on my money. Okay, let's hold on and let's dig into this a little bit more. I found the sales to promotion, the sales that came from promotion, Whatnot said, very misleading. When I started digging into these numbers, the dollars also came from, those sales dollars also came from existing buyers. Not all of them, but some of the sales that were counted in that $270 were from my existing customers. These are not new people that were brought to me because of the promotion. It's Whatnot classified them that they came to my show because of the promotion, but they already knew about me. And that's not what my goal was in this promotion. My goal is to bring people who don't know about me into my shows and then have them buy from me. So I felt the 270 was very misleading. There is no way to know what items generated that $270. There's no report. There's no drilling down. Because I run smaller shows, I was able to dig into this and actually figure out which buyers they were. It took a lot of my time to really match up the dollars and the buyers and try to figure it out. And that's how I realized this isn't just new people. This is some of my existing customers already that they already knew about me, could have been coming to my show anyways. And yeah, so Whatnot doesn't identify what sales. So that was a big one that I found that very misleading. So if I looked at just that metric, it wasn't worth it. But let's go to the rest of the metrics because I could change my mind, right? Then the purchases were after that. 7 purchases came directly from promotions over 3 shows. Again, same as above. Those 7 purchases, some of those purchases were from people who already knew about me. They were not all the new people. So the purchases don't tie to the first time buyers. All Whatnot says is, hey, 7 people bought from you because you promoted. Okay, I was able to trace 2 or 3 of them as being brand new. The rest are I already know these people. So I didn't think that was a good metric. Then the next one, first time buyers. This is the part that, like, after 2 shows, I was ready to throw in the towel and say forget it, because this tipped the hat for me. This was I even was texting Lysandra. I'm like, this is freaking crazy. From a data person and a analytic person, this is what put me over the top. So, first time buyers. If you take my 3 shows I did not promote, organically, I had 24 first time buyers on those 3 shows I did not promote. Ironically, the 3 shows I did promote, I had a total of 24 first time buyers. Okay. That was just a coincidence, 24 in both. However, this is where it gets really interesting, because Whatnot says that out of the 24 for the promoted shows, 6 of them came from the promotion. Again, it won't tell me which 6, but 6 of them supposedly came from the promotion. But that means 18 of them were organic. So I'm generating more first-time buyers organically than I was getting from promoting. And I got 24 in both. So it just didn't, it was like, I'm doing it on my own. Why should I pay for it? There was no return there. There was nothing that made me, think, why should I do this? I'm already getting 3 to 4 times the amount of first-time buyers without, hold on, let me finish and then you can go on question. I'm going to run through really quickly. I'm already getting 3 to 4 times that amount of buyers on my own. Okay. Impressions. The next metric was impressions. I supposedly got 3,400 people. This is the number of times my show was put in front of somebody else. Again, no backup data. Who was it put in front of? If you put that 3,400 in front of card people and I'm selling vintage, what good does that do me? Whatnot provided 0. Even if I were to go and hire a marketing company to buy a billboard, I would at least get demographics of the people who drove by the dang billboard. I got nothing from Whatnot. I have no clue who saw those 3,400, so that number is absolutely meaningless to me. Viewers from promotions. Okay, if first-time buyers didn't get me, viewers from promotions absolutely got me. The 3 shows I did not promote. Total viewers in the, not your concurrent, but your total views, 1,046. When I promoted, 1,136. Okay, I'll give it to you, 9% increase. However, of the 1,136 views that I got when I promoted, Whatnot claims that 979 of those came from the promotion. So you're telling me that on my own, I generated 1,046 views, but the minute I promote, I can only organically get 157 views out of 3 shows? The math's not mathing. It's just not mathing. Sustained watches, that's anybody who watched 30 seconds or more. I have nothing to measure that against, so I'm not going to dive into that because that's not something I can even, they throw numbers at you. This is part of my problem with this. There were so many numbers on this report that made it look so good. Oh, they told me I got 132 sustained watches. Okay, what does that mean? Because I can't measure it against anything else. So you're giving me something that's meaningless number because there's no comparison to it. Follows from promotions, 22. Okay, if followers your goal, maybe that might be a good thing for you. It did nothing for me in this case because that wasn't my goal. And then finally, number of bids, supposedly from people who came in through promotion, were a total of 125 bids. This includes non-winning bids, just any bid, any swipe. Again, I can't compare that to anything, but it's put on this report to look really good, to make me think that all these people are coming in and swiping in my room. But what does that really mean? So there you go. That's like a really, as fast as I can go so that you guys could talk and give me your thoughts.
I'm going to throw out a simple observation based on the numbers you're talking about, because of the beauty of how you did this was short shows. So essentially your promotion ran the entirety of the show.
Yes.
Did I say that's probably about correct? So there had to have been a short period of time, in my opinion, that the promotion wasn't being activated, and these numbers seem to be more of what happened while promotion, not because of the promotion.
Yeah,
because if I draw these numbers, what you're saying is everything is net negative, because the things that are exactly the same, you're talking about 24 and 24, but 6 of it came from that means you actually got 6 fewer, like you were saying. So it's actually, and then what the other thing that what really made me think that they're utilizing while you're promoted was the 900 of the coming in because of the promotion. That had to be a number based on while it was promoted, not because they generated it through the promotion.
Absolutely.
That's that, and that is that's just, and that when I did my experiment, I ran into the exact same roadblock. I'm like, these numbers, one, are irrelevant, and two, cannot be quantified. You cannot quantify these. They do not give you the appropriate numbers to even come up with, and then when they say you made X amount of money, it was easy for me to tell that the numbers weren't real because of the same reasons. I look at my buyer pool and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Same thing with new buyers when I did it. The new buyer numbers were lower for me through a elongated, when I first tried it. I tried it again not that long ago because I said I was going to, and I'm just like, it's already starting out exactly the same way it ended before, so I'm not even going to waste any more money. So I didn't give it any more opportunity. So honestly, I think there's a way that they could make it viable, and I wish they would just provide the accurate numbers that you need to assess it appropriately. And I also will always say this: if it worked, all the big sellers and the prices would just create a situation where it ceases to work, just like it happened on eBay and on Amazon when they first started doing the advertising. You could pay for it. You could see your exact metrics. You spent 1% to create these sales that came through because we predominantly placed it, and they could track exactly the link that they clicked on. That's the kind of data we need. But then it became a self-fulfilling prophecy of the value of it diminished because the value was there to begin with, which tells me that it's not working for the majority of people, because if it did, you would see more and more of it. You would see the bigger sellers doing it. And because of that, they would be hogging up all the value, because they also say that the price goes up based on demand. And so far, it seems like the price has been pretty stagnant across for the majority of it in the categories that I see. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on on the promotion.
I'm gonna add my little data tidbit, and we haven't. Well, Tony's probably pushed promotions on because I haven't been in the shows recently a little bit, but the reason
I promoted the glow home for the 20-minute spot.
The reasons that we stopped promoting, because we did it like probably 90% of the time for our first 6 months, is I had finally caught them, and our shows weren't small, right? We were running 8 hours, 400 items. They weren't small. And I had finally caught them where we didn't start the show with the promotions. And the show was a little bit slow, and probably halfway or at some point in the show we started a promotion. And I caught it where they were a new buyer to us, but they had already been in our show and purchasing before we started that promotion, and whatnot counted their purchases as part of that promotion, which was a blatant lie.
Yeah.
Same here. I found the exact same thing. Yeah.
That happened to me live while I was selling. The last time I tried promoting, my room count dropped by almost 30 people, and it said that so-and-so joined with 80 people.
Yeah.
So the others, and I'm just like, no, that didn't happen. So
we stopped promoting, because at that point for me, I knew that any data that they were sending out to me was bogus, and I couldn't rely on it to assess it properly. Now, you guys have heard the podcast, and my husband loves promoting. So this is the funness of having a partner, but you being in business with a partner. You don't always agree.
So, no, we don't. We absolutely do not. We absolutely don't. But I will say this. Learning, as we have been learning over the months, being live and on whatnot, and even in this podcast where I have forced myself to go out and learn other things. I know we've talked about the promotion, and what I've just by testing the software and watching the software is that when you promote, they move your show to the top of the wall. Okay. but then every few minutes you get replaced with somebody else, and you just keep moving down. Your show's still promoted, but you keep going down. And then once you get to the end of the list where there's no other new promotions, they move you back up to the top as long as you're promoted. And then you keep following that cycle all the way down, right? So that's one thing. I can safely assume that our person that Lysandra was just talking about, the buyer, that they counted him, he was in our room, he left our room and came back in through the promoted tile on the wall to come back in, and whatnot automatically counted him as a promoted customer.
Sure, but why did they?
I understand that.
Purchases.
I understand that. They definitely need to refine the numbers to make it more accurate across the board. I don't want to be told that a guy came into my show, bought 3 items, left my show, came back in the promoted listings, bought 1 more, but now all 4 of his were counted as promoted. You don't get it charged anymore, but the data is skewed, right?
So here's my observation from what you're telling me and why there's a discrepancy here. If you're in a category and you're already pretty close to the top, the promotion leads to tons and tons of misguided information. Somebody newer, like in my chat show earlier today, somebody was saying that when they do it, it seems to be useful for them, which then would make sense if what you're telling me is true, where it pushes you to the top right out of the gate, and then you start going down. My thing is, if that's the case, Whatnot needs to be transparent and basically tell you you're wasting your money paying for promotion because you're already predominantly placed.
If you are.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you are, or give you some type of metric, like, because I don't think the metric's accurate. They should, that metric that tells you you'll get X amount of people, blah, 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 on average, if you pay this much, should be fluid. It should be like specifically for you, like, hey, based on where you are already in the in people's feeds and based on your past performances, that may not be the case for you. It needs to be updated, and I think that's why there's a misunderstanding or a ton of different perspectives, and that's why it may be useful for people in certain categories that are newer, that it will push them. And then I'm curious if what you're saying is true, where they put you at the top and you slowly go down. Would it be advantageous for you to end the promotion and keep restarting it in order to stay at the top? And then you're talking about gamifying the entire thing, which then invalidates the value to it for the people that understand or potentially exercise that versus the people that don't.
Yep.
Again,
Lysandra and I have had that conversation.
Too many flaws involved. I don't, anybody that's, and then once everybody starts gaming, then everyone's just like spending half their sale trying to stay. It becomes a game of staying at the top.
Because now you need 2 people to watch when you start getting down and redo it. And it's a lot of work.
Is all of that worth 1 or 2 people who may happen to buy something in your show because of the promotion?
And
it's
that's where I was headed. Like, all that just becomes a colossal waste. And then we always come back to, or we don't always, I always come back to opportunity cost perspective. Is that actually a colossal waste in comparison to something else I could do that could be fundamentally building my business that will pay off dividends in the end? Like, all that money that I would put into that, all that gaming, all those trial and error, like trying to play with the advertising, will it maybe give you a perception of short-term success and gains? Yes, but I don't believe in those things. I've been in business long enough to know that I've wasted tons of time and energy going down those roads, and that's sticking to the basics and building on the fundamental blocks of success, which tons and tons of us say all the time, that, consistency being key. And I'll always preach that, just get in there and sell, run stuff, as opposed to spending all those resources on, it's no different than the giveaway principle. Yep. The resources that are squandered on giveaways could be applied to better, more advantageous efforts that are going to pay off in the end.
At the end of the day, I look at this as an auditor, I always approach everything as trust but verify. Yep. The promotion summaries, there's no way to verify anything. It is a hodgepodge full of numbers. They're not backed up by any real data that Whatnot is willing to provide. And so therefore it's not useful. If I can't rely on the data that I am paying for, what good is it to me? Even if I got 1 or 2 buyers, that's not enough to substantiate the money that I'm spending and possibly being lied to. I mean, I'm not going to go out and say, oh, it's all a lie, but it's smoke and mirrors. It's showing numbers that aren't really coming from that promotion. If somebody's already known to you and they come into your room because they clicked on something when you happen to promote, that's not part of the promotion. So overall, for me, it's an absolute hard no. Daisy Lane said it's like a percentage game or maybe 2%. And I get that. With marketing, you never get 100% return. But because Whatnot can't substantiate the numbers that they're giving me, I can't believe any of it. Like, I don't, that's probably my bigger issue with this. Did I get 1 or 2 buys from this? Did I supposedly make $270 from this? Supposedly. But because I can't validate any of the material, it's all useless to me. So it's not enough for me personally to keep doing it. Again, I did this through the lens of trying to get more buyers. If your goal with this is something different, speaking to everybody, not Daisy Lane here, speaking in general, if your goal is something different, it may be a completely viable option for you.
So, all right. All 3 of you have given your opinion. Here's mine. I cannot dispute the numbers being wonky. I don't. I've looked at the page. I've looked at them for months. We've looked at them. We tried to figure them out. They're wonky. But I will say this. Even in your wonky numbers, you had some buyers come in via promotion, and I think the number was about 1/3 for purchasers, correct?
Let's see. Let me find my purchasers. My first-time buyers. 6 first-time buyers.
Out of?
6 out of 24
So 25%.
of the first-time
Yeah.
people that came in, approximately.
But how do you know that's true?
So
Exactly. I question the validity of it.
oh,
That's the problem.
I get it. All things being equal, let's just, because, and I'm going to bring this up, and it may or may not put into perspective. I'm not trying to justify spending your money on inaccurate data. What I will say is, if your very limited promotion time brought in, quote unquote, a 25% increase in your sales because you spent the money in new buyers,
not in sales. Nope. Yep. New
not
buyers.
in sales. I
Okay.
corrected it. A 25% in buyers, and whatever that equated to in dollars. They may or may not be new people, but you also have to realize that customer's Whatnot wall changes every single day. For whatever reason, they don't come into your show, you're not consistent, you're not showing up on their wall, or even somebody like me where I decide to go and look at the coin and stamps category for the next 26 hours of Whatnot. Now my entire wall is filled up with coin and stamp category item shows and not my regularly followed people. There's plenty of people that I should be seeing on
Okay,
my wall day to
but
day
I have
because I'm in there, right?
one sentence that negates everything, that whole opinion right there. One sentence.
Oh,
This
Okay.
is first time buyers.
yeah.
There is
I
no
know.
data to show me that any of those 6 people hadn't already been in my show and they just happened to buy the first time while I was running a promotion. Had I not been running the promotion, there's a good chance that all 6 of them were already known and been in my show and were going to make a first purchase anyways because they liked what I had. Until Whatnot can drill down, until I can see the names of those 6 people to know if they came from that promotion or not, I just threw my money out the window.
I have a question. What was it you spent for those 6 buyers based on your goals?
It was like
$40
$112 approximately. Yeah.
Yeah.
$25 an hour per show for the full show.
So you paid 100 and
It was like 112. It was from 28 to 41. So I had a 28, I had a 30 something, and I had a $41. That's the only one I didn't add up for a grand total. I don't know why.
So you paid 120. Your goal was to get new buyers. You spent $120 for 6 new buyers.
Mm-hmm.
So that was $20. You spent $20 a buyer.
And what did those
Approximately,
6 buyers spend?
Okay, it doesn't say what they spent. This is just it. It doesn't tell you
Yeah.
because,
But that wasn't her goal. I wouldn't
yes.
even look at that. Her goal was to acquire new
Just
buyers,
new buyers.
right?
Just
Yes.
new
That was
buyers.
your main goal at the end.
So
Yeah.
So
go
I
ahead.
would also say that if you promoted 3 shows and you, in theory, got 6 new buyers, which is basically 2 new buyers per show on an hour and a half show for them coming in your wall. If you did that promotion over the course of 3 to 6 months, I love how Lysandra's just sitting here laughing because I'm trying to justify promotions. I'm being the devil's advocate here, folks. I'm just saying. I enjoy the promotion. I still think they work. But I feel like if you were building those 2 people per show, for just an hour and a half show.
Okay, but
at the end of
organically,
6
I'm
months,
bringing
they're
in
going to build upon
18.
time, though, right, Tracy?
Tony,
Organically,
let
I'm
me-
bringing in 18 on my own.
Let me
Sure.
put it in a different perspective. You're gonna pay me when you had your brick and mortar. You're gonna pay me $20 an hour to claim and scream that you're running a sale in your business, and one of your customers, your regular customers, walks into the door, and I count him as, hey, he walked in because
I
I
brought him in.
promoted, because I was yelling. Is that accurate?
But I don't know. When was the last time that customer came in my store?
Exactly.
But if they're
You
an
Has
have
it
no
been
existing
data.
6 months ago, or was it yesterday?
But you have no data.
there's no data.
There's no
I know.
data. So there's no
And I
way for you
totally
to
understand
measure
that.
that.
I'm
Can
not
I-
disputing the fact that the data needs to be more concise
Okay.
so we can see and exactly know what it is.
Let me.
I'm just saying you brought 2 new customers to your show 3 times. And if 2 customers on show number 1 come back to show number 2 and you brought 2 new customers, and then on show number 3 all 4 of those came back and you brought 2 new customers, and you did that for 6 months down the road, I'm pretty positive that paying for the promotion was going to be worth it down the road.
Can I point something out here?
Yeah, of course.
Opportunity cost, okay? Diminishing returns, I believe, would end up happening, which
It would.
it will.
It will.
So let's go to free shipping. It cost me $9.80 per new customer when I first started free shipping.
Yeah.
Way better. Way better. Less than half the cost.
But it's a continuing cost, and it's going to cost you $9.21 for every time they come back.
The bottom line for me on the first time buyers.
All your theories are the same as far as the compounding aspects. If you're
No, 'cause
still
you're gonna
continuing
end
to pay money on
you're going to
advertising.
end promotions at some point, Jeremy, because of the diminishing returns. You have to stop it. There's going to be a point where they don't bring their people in.
And I could stop doing free shipping as well if I needed to, but I've adjusted again, diminishing opportunity costs tell me to adjust my business like I'm doing to fit into reduce into free shipping. So now my free shipping overhead every month that I do this now is getting lower and lower as far as a percentage. So my cost basis is still continuing to go down if we're looking at it per acquiring new customers.
That's fair.
There's always opportunity. I always will say, look at the opportunity cost. And then if it does get to that point, there's nothing saying I can't, just like if you end promotions, I could start charging shipping.
Sure. I will say this. Your out-of-pocket costs for free shipping tomorrow and my out-of-pocket costs for running promotions for a 5-hour show are much less.
I know. I'm talking about acquiring new buyers. The acquiring cost of new buyers.
And
that's the only
taking it out of the show's money. It's a little bit different, but it's a huge chunk of money per show.
You know what's funny about this argument is
it funny?
I Love Discounts has probably only promoted 2 hours of shows in the last year.
I know. Not the last year. This year, 2026, we have not promoted that much. Not because I haven't fought for it, though, because I truly believe that the promotions will help.
and the discrepancy in data pisses me off so much. I put my foot down, and I don't do that a lot.
She
honestly.
doesn't. She doesn't. I normally get my way, but I have
And-
given her the right on this one for the data.
I'm saying that I'm not saying that the promotions won't work. I'm saying there's better options, and I'm not telling you to go to free shipping. I'm just using that as an example.
Oh,
If
yeah.
the goal was to acquire first-time buyers,
Yes.
okay, there's other goals, and I would be more than happy to have discussions on other opportunities lost by squandering it on less effective things. And I think one of the least effective things besides giveaways is the advertising.
Maybe that could be our next podcast.
We are over time. I do just want really quick, Millicent. Yeah, it's the data that I think both Lysandra and I were like, I was ready to quit after 2. I did one more only so I would have 3 and 3 to compare. And Sassy, how do we explain others? And this is exactly it. I got 18 organically, 2 by the promotion, 18 organically.
Yep.
Like if I know that I'm already bringing more people into the show by what I'm doing, or getting more first time buyers by what I'm doing, I don't need to pay for the small amount that I'm getting. Let's just figure out how to do more of what I'm doing that's already doing its job the right way. I don't need to pay for that and pay for that to get flawed data. So
The only difference for when the buyers pay for the promotion is that it supposedly throws your show out even more, like
heavier for that 15
for
minutes.
15 minutes than it is over the
The
hour.
course of the hour.
But who knows?
I
knows?
think the 15 minutes is the entire hour worth of viewers encompassed in that 15 minutes versus spreading them out over the course.
But in order for them to do that, you would then they would have to be pushing you out into other categories, which is even less helpful.
Which may or may not be relevant. And you're not ready for it. Like when the reality is when a customer of yours promotes your show, you're not ready for it. The reality is if you're doing the promotion, and Jeremy's going to love this, you're going to have that influx of people coming into your room. And if you can't capture them and keep them in your room, they just trickle right away, right? That's where the use of the giveaway comes into play in cross connection with the promotion. I don't. Jeremy's head is about to explode. But
no.
But if you
already know what I'm going to say,
and you use the giveaway to capture the people, you at least have the time for them to stick around long enough to see you.
Dragonfly. The problem with that is everybody's first show is already promoted. And Jeremy's talked about that in his chat show, that typically your first show might actually go halfway decent, and maybe even the second show, but then it drops off. And that's because your first show.
You should never pay for a first show promotion. It's already promoted for you.
Anyway, y'all, I have to get up at 5 a.m.
Yeah. We're already way over time. I'm sorry, guys.
this was a good one though.
Yeah. It was.
I'm going to say your analogy of using two square wheels to try to fix a broken wheel.
I knew he wouldn't let it go without something.
All right.
All right,
it's time to get going.
All right, everybody. Don't forget to hit that like button.
Oh, yes, dear Lord. Please hit the like button. And we'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for joining, everybody. Catch you all later.
See you next time.
Goodbye, everybody.